Good afternoon, everyone. We are here on the fourth panel. I hope you're enjoying the day so far. We have an expert panel on redefining omnichannel retail, the new age of supply chain operations. And we'll explore how retailers are evolving their strategies to meet the offline and online channels, and also the kind of customer experiences that they have to look at. It demands seamless integration. Customers have become more demanding, and that's what everybody's talking about. Customer centricity is the order of the day to be able to sustain business forward. So without further ado, I will start with Kamlesh. Kamlesh, today's customers have a high, actually, I'm sorry, I'm just filling in. I would like each panel member to take a minute to introduce themselves, please. You can start with Kamlesh.
Sure. So, hey everyone, I'm Kamlesh and currently leading the supply chain for Jumbotail. Jumbotail is basically serving Kirana stores today. So I've been working here almost for 2.5 years. Before that, I was working with Swiggy, where I joined in very early days of building grocery supply chain for Swiggy. Prior to Swiggy, worked with Flipkart. Again, when Flipkart came with this idea of building grocery with Flipkart Supermart, so was in the second team member basically to build that for Flipkart. Did my MBA from IIM Calcutta. Prior to IMC, was working with a company called Caterpillar into the manufacturing domain post my mechanical engineering. So that's about me.
Thanks, Kamlesh. Kalyan.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. So, Kalyanasundaram, almost having 3.5 decades of experience in supply chain in various fields. Currently working as a Senior Vice President and Head Supply Chain for Reliance Retail and heading the Fashion and Lifestyle Division. So, prior to that, I was with Reliance Infocom, Bharti Airtel, Indian Rayon, Aditya Birla Group in various companies at various functions. That's short about me. Thanks.
Deepak.
Thanks, sir. Hey everyone, this is Deepak. I have almost 17 plus years of experience now in the industry. Good to be here because I could meet some of my old friends. So I and Kapil, we met. So when I started my career with P&G back in 2007 after graduating from IIM Mumbai, erstwhile NITI. And I and Kapil essentially started the warehousing almost for P&G at that point of time. But yeah, good to meet you, Kapil. Yeah, so I spent almost 13 years with P&G, and last 4 years I've been working with Shadowfax. I lead the entire last mile across Pan India. Have set up the entire supply chain also for Shadowfax, including all the sorting centers, first mile, mid mile in the initial 2 years, and last 2 years lead the entire last mile piece of it. Thank you.
All right, so coming back to you, Kamlesh. Customers today have very high expectations of service quality. They expect great service and also expect product availability across channels. So how do you prioritize and balance across the channels? What are your key considerations for it? And how do you decide which customer segments to prioritize?
Yeah, I think, see, on the factors side, I think there are broadly two things which any company look at, right? One is your customer preference, because that's the key at that's the backbone at which we build our businesses. And second is also the capabilities, which is basically the operational limitations what we have. And these two basically define everything, in terms of how do we balance priorities. That too in omni-channel sort of supply chain. So couple of factors if I have to talk about, right? One is definitely consistency across the channels has become very, very important, because as people were talking about, right, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and all that is happening, right? And customers are becoming more demanding. I think it's not just, there's segment of customers who have become, who are more demanding. What I'm seeing is across the channels, every sort of customers, even the people who are ordering, like, who are okay ordering, getting their orders in D+2 also, expect, like, everything has to be perfect. There's nothing like, you can give a substandard experience in one channel and the other channel has to be perfect. So considering that factor, I'll just give you a quick example of that. Like, all of us have experienced this when this web check-in came after, let's talk about that, let's say in omni-channel context, right? Let's say airlines. Earlier we used to go there, do check-in, and then go and drop your luggage and get your tickets. Then web check-in came in. So you can sit at home, you can, so that's an online experience. But then for your baggage drop, you have to still go and stand in the queue and drop it. So that was not a very great experience, because then we all used to think, if anyway I have to stand in the queue, why do I need to do web check-in, right? So that was the customer experience. Now, if you see, at least I have experienced yesterday at Delhi airport that there's a separate baggage drop counters which they have created, right? So that's the experience we are talking about. That's the convenience which we are talking about, which customers are expecting, these days. Second is on the, customer, like which channel to prioritize also depends on the customer journey mapping when we do. Like, for example, I'll give in terms of quick commerce and e-commerce context. Like what we are doing in Jumbotail, let's say, we are building a feature for Kirana stores. You would have seen in LinkedIn recently, there was a trending post that there's a coconut seller who has written that I sell in 55 rupees and Zepto sells at 80 rupees. And I'm sure you would have seen that, right? Now, if we think about that, this guy is actually selling at 55 while some of the quick commerce is selling at 80 rupees. How does that information reaches out to the end user, right? So let's say if we are able to give sort of technology to Kirana, where as a customer, let's say the next Kirana store which is there next to my doorstep, what all, let's say X product I'm looking at, is this available with this guy or not? If I can check in the app, sitting at home, at what price is he selling? I can also do a price comparison with some other apps also, and I can make a decision making of whether I should buy from some other app, or let's say I should go down and, where do I see the value, right? So that sort of omni-channel experience, let's say building even for Kirana, if we are able to do that, all this news which is running that 2 lakh Kirana has been killed just because quick commerce has come, I personally don't believe that. And the reason is, as I talked about my experience, my career experience, right, that I started building e-commerce and quick commerce and then moved building Kirana now, because I personally believe that supply chain is already proven. Like that supply chain exists for quite some time. The unit economics has already been proven and working out. There are certain disadvantages which these guys have, right? And if we are able to pitch in there and fill it, right? Like whatever the advantages, say, quick commerce has, if somebody is able to solve that for Kirana, right? There's no reason why, they will not thrive. So that's how I look at the omni-channel strategy.
Thanks, Kamlesh. So, earlier it was retail versus e-commerce. A lot of discussions used to happen pre-COVID around retail versus e-commerce. And now it's retail, e-commerce, and quick commerce. So it's becoming more like e-commerce versus quick commerce. So coming to you, Kalyan, how do you approach balancing speed? Because quick commerce is all about speed, but you need to balance speed with accuracy across channels. So what are how do you approach that? And if you could share a practical example of your strategy to ensure that each of your channels stays competitive and achieves the desired service level.
Sure. So I think when it is coming to the question of omnichannel environment, balancing the speed with accuracy as well as with cost optimization is equally important. Otherwise, what will happen is, while speed is important from the customer point of view, balancing the accuracy and the cost is equally important from the business point of view. So it starts from the visibility of the inventory, from the inventory planning stage. So as you are all aware, what happens is when an organization is having multi-channels, the respective business verticals are responsible for the profitability. So in turn, what happens is everyone try to block their inventory. They order separately and they try to block their inventory with an anticipation of sales. So in reality, especially when those tough time comes, what happens is probably the inventory, what they plan will not get consumed. So either it will lead to obsolete of the inventory, or at times it has to be cross-pollinated between the other channels. So to avoid all such things, what we adopt in our organization is we take the requirement based on the annual operating plan from every single respective verticals. So consolidate it and make it as a single view of inventory with the technical support in terms of internal reservations. So while suppose if there is a stock availability of 100 units in particular SKU, so the system will be able to balance between the different channels whom they have got indented for that. So that is the first level in terms of clear planning of the inventory with a single view of objective. Second is the visibility. So in terms of the order fulfillment, order landing, so what is that pipeline, at what stage? So there is a clear visibility in terms of the material availability and at what stage we have to process it. So that is the second thing. Third, the availability of inventory at a different nodes. In fact, there is no one right or wrong approach. Different business adapt different practices, and whatever best suits for them, they try to adapt that. See, in our case, what happened is initially we started that for all our brick and mortar, different set of warehouses spread across pan India. And for online business, we started with one single warehouse for the pan in India, centrally located in Bangalore. So what started is when the order started piling it up, right? That movement, what it has to travel from Bangalore to pan India. So the lead time used to be very long, and the cost used to be very high. So at the same time, we will not be able to replicate with every single warehouse because it will lead for a inventory fragmentation. So then what we thought is we started exposing all our stocks, whether it is in the warehouses or whether it is in the stores. So everything is visible for every single channel, and depending upon the proximity and the availability of stock, where we will be able to fulfill in full to the customer. So the system automatically, based on the slotting logic, identify that particular node and then it go for the fulfillment. For example, let's say a customer sits in Jaipur, order for a material. Now, as long as the products are available in the nearest store, so the first priority for the fulfillment will go from the nearest stores to the customer. Now, when that is not available, then it comes to the next set of nearest stores and warehouse. So as I said, we have got warehouses for the different zones. In almost we have got close to 8 to 10 warehouses spread across pan India. So the system takes care of a step-by-step approach where the stocks are available. That is one. Second, we also need to give the flexibility to the customers in the omnichannel environment, saying that they will be able to order from online and they will be able to pick up from the stores. Or from the stores, we may have to drop it to their house. Then similarly, they may purchase from the offline and they want to return it from their house. So with all this type of envisagement, the system has to enable, the technical feasibility has to be built in so that the inventory at a single go is visible and we are able to get the order processed from the nearest center, number one, and then we are able to fulfill to the customers on time. So this is with respect to the fulfillment point of view. Now, second, when it comes to the warehouse, so probably if I need to summarize from the various things what we have discussed from morning. Again, the efficiency and the speed, what that is going to get adapted within the warehouse is also equally important, right? So probably we may have to give prioritization for certain customer orders where we got a priority segments, where maybe probably they pay a little bit extra in terms of the last mile cost. So we used to generate different set of waves. For the offline brick and mortar stores, a separate waves, and for the online, on a hourly basis, we used to generate waves. Then the last mile partner used to come thrice or 4 times to the warehouse, okay, periodic pickup, and then the consolidated bulk picking in the warehouses. So the earlier adoption systems where we go and pick order at a customer individual order level. Now with advanced technology and the automation sortation systems, so what we used to do is many a times we club customer orders and then we bulk it, we pick it in bulk and then we subsequently sort it through put to light systems or sortation systems. So these are certain things which will improve the speed in terms of fulfillment to the customers, while the accuracy, always all of our picking within the warehouses are through handle terminals, and for certain costlier products, we also adapt RFID systems. So with all these things in place, which will ensure that the fulfillment to the customer is not only we are giving it a very speed level. It also will comes with accurate and the optimized cost.
Right, right. So while Kalyan spoke about having stock visibility across channels, including stores, warehouses, and then diverting fulfillment from the nearest stock point, and he also spoke about accuracy through RFID and technology. So coming to you, Deepak, I would like to ask you about network design. So designing the right network is a complex challenge. So how do your customers assess and select the ideal mix of distribution centers, nodes, and partnerships to support omni-channel demand efficiently?
Well, I think an interesting question, but an obvious answer. I think we have been talking since last panel. I came, sorry, a bit late. I was not present in the morning. But what we have been talking since last panel and what Kamlesh talked about, it's all about customer. So you need to understand what your customer wants. Okay, so because we are a 3PL, we are a full stack solution, we deal with India 1, India 2, India 3. So we deal with a customer who would want the product in 10 minutes. We deal with a customer who would want the product in 30 minutes, probably same day, probably next day. And we also deal with the customers who are okay if the product comes 4 or 5 days later, but they would want the best value out of it, best cost out of it, because the logistics cost that the players would pay for, the clients would pay to us, would be very nominal according to the customer. India, let us say India 3, as you expand e-commerce business to the more rural parts of the country. So accordingly, you have to design your supply chain. So if I talk about the rural customers, probably cost comes at prime, right? So cost is the most important thing. So you have to ensure that you design your supply chain so that you are reaching there most efficiently. Whether you use, now e-commerce as a supply chain can be built into a mesh network design where every node is connecting to every node, and there are multiple nodes connecting so that you reach faster, or you are operating in a hub and spoke model, which is basically built on a cost efficiency model. So you have to figure out where do you want to serve. So if I'm going to reach out probably to the most interior parts of Bihar, Jharkhand, most probably I'll choose the hub and spoke model. I'll design a facility in Patna, and then Patna to some of the local interior parts, I'll design further transportation, so I'll do that. But if I have to serve a customer sitting in metro to whom I have to either do a 30 minutes delivery or a same day delivery, essentially the new models of dark stores is something that is going to come up. The warehouse sitting in Hoskote in Bangalore is not going to serve my customers in 30 minutes across Bangalore, right? So I have to do it. Now, even within those nodes, as you asked, how do you design your nodes? Even within those nodes, what inventory do I keep can vary from Kormangla to Sarjapur Road and possibly even to Hoskote, right? So what inventory I keep is also based on the customer demand pattern. I'll give you very, very simple but impactful examples. One of my friends on Diwali, on the day of Diwali, realized all of a sudden I don't have a kurta to wear. So he had to order. Now, there were two options. Either he goes on the store, but you all know Diwali days, those are quite busy days, or you order something. And he was surprised to see that the kurta was available on Zepto. Right? So possibly you have to identify, what kind of inventory you want to keep near those places where I live. Now, another very, very small, powerful example, Kormangla is where several offices are there. My office is also there in Kormangla. Last week only, I had a board meeting in the afternoon. And by the time, or just before the board meeting, essentially, I dropped something on my shirt while having lunch. Right? So I had to get a shirt. Now, all of a sudden, I had to realize that what do I do? Either I call my wife or I go to a shop to buy, or I just search on Zepto. So if you profile your customers better, profile your areas better, so if you're in the office areas, you keep things like that, I think that's what is the demand of the industry today, customers today. So you identify your customer patterns, what your customers want. A customer may want, for example, even within the supply chain, even within metros, if you think, the way a Nykaa shipment needs to move, the way a Flipkart shipment needs to move, the way a mobile phone needs to move might be a little different. right? So you need to design and segment your supply chain accordingly. Maybe within the same facility, I mean, the e-commerce is moving into that direction that probably within the same warehousing facilities or same sort center facilities also, you might have different sorting layouts dedicated to different types of needs.
Right.
Just to add that exactly this is what we used to do in our warehouses. For brick and mortar, if you see the set of processing is completely different. In Omnichannel, if we for e-commerce, it's completely different. For quick commerce, where we need to deliver it in fact, for fashion also we have started recently. So for this is a separate set of, as I said, separate set of web generation, separate set of packing formalities, separate set of inspections. So within the proper warehouse layout, you may have to compartmentalize depending upon your customer segmentation and the needs.
So again, building on that, network optimization, how do you balance, how do you do network optimization to balance cost and service?
So again, this is very from industry to industry, but in general, if you see, what is fundamentally network optimization? Basically, where I need to keep my service centers, fulfillments, right? And how faster I will be able to fulfill to my customers and how efficiently I will be able to fulfill my customers, balancing the warehouse operating cost and the distribution cost. So again, it starts from the fundamentals of every single business element in terms of planning, what every single channel want to achieve, what will be the total volume, right? How that is spread across geography-wise, zone-wise, city-wise. So what will be their demand planning? Then where are my various vendors or the manufacturing units located? So how quickly I will be able to move those merchandise from the sourcing centers to the demand centers. So if you go more towards your sourcing centric hub, probably you will be able to save on your primary, but the warehouse fulfillment and secondary is going to add value to that. At the same time, if you are going to be very near to your demand centric, then the first leg is going to have an impact. So basically it is a mathematical model in terms of putting various input slots in terms of my requirements, my customer base, customer segments, how much is going to business is going to come from my e-commerce, how much is going to come from my same city, from my adjacent cities, tier 1, tier 2, then how much I need to do for my brick and mortar. So based on these things, first we need to define the number of locations. So then comes what type of networking model I need to have for warehouse, right? It could be a cross-dock centers at some particular location. In some situations, it could be a processing centers, right? So that depends upon the volume and the throughput that has been equipped or planned to handle for a day, right? So that is the second key thing. And third thing is in terms of the availability. For example, if I need to go for my future expansions, do I have enough space for further expansions? Will the logistics partners or the hubs will be able to take care of the load? Like he said, if I am lying in some remote places, probably the logistics pickup itself is going to take a half a day. So then it's not going to work practically for those aspects. Then in terms of labor availability, are we at the right place? So in short, it is more of a planning, envisaging next 3 to 5 years, what my business is going to do, in which are the segments that we are going to venture in, who are my customers, okay, how quickly I want to fulfill to them. So what should be the effective mode for that, balancing both the service as well as with the cost.
If I may add to this point, just one small thing. So I think a lot of times when we talk about speed versus cost efficiency, we only talk about probably the warehousing, how do we, or which nodes to supply, which nodes to design, where to design. But what we forget is that the biggest piece of speed is actually the transportation, right? So it's not the warehousing process time.
So I was coming, that was my next question actually.
If I can just add to that. So when we talk about cost, we generally think about transportation as only your road transportation, where if I talk Delhi to Bangalore, it's probably 50 hours of transportation, or we talk about air transportation, where it is extremely costly, but only 2 hours of transportation. What we usually miss, and what I believe personally, is that quite underutilized in India is the Indian railway system. The Delhi to Bangalore Rajdhani comes in 36 hours, and I've used it for my goods transport. It's a beautiful transportation system. We just don't use it well. So 36 hours, it's somewhere in between air and road, and you can actually use it pretty cost efficiently.
So, Deepak, since you got railways into the subject, obviously the conversation or the debate around railways is obviously the first mile, last mile, because you need to be there at the station and pick up and all that. So, my next question, so that's where I think railways needs to get its act together about pickup and last mile delivery. So, my question to you is about last mile delivery now. It is crucial to omni-channel success. So, Deepak, Shadowfax has been at the forefront of last mile solutions. So, what have been some key innovations or operational improvements you have implemented to enhance both speed and reliability in last mile delivery?
I think you said, so we have been, in fact, we are quite youngest across the industry if I speak of the competition in last mile. But I think last mile is something where both speed and accuracy can be achieved only and only through tech. We were talking technology in the previous panel. Last mile is all about accurate identification of the addresses of your customers, right? So you need to ensure that you read the customers well, you read the addresses well, and you reach there. A lot of people in our country, or let us say a lot of addresses in our country, are still very, very fragmented. As we were talking about the rural places of India, very often people, even if they have addresses, they won't even write the proper addresses, right? So I think to build that accuracy, the only thing that last mile usually needs to work, and that's what we have built in, and we have built in quite a strong position there, is that how do you create your own address indices, right? So how do you create your own maps? Because believe me, Google Maps does not work. It does not tell you where the addresses are. You throw an address to a Google Map, the way it is written by the customer, it only throws out junk. Okay, so you have to build your own territory, you have to build your own maps. If you do that well, you can deliver to your customers accurately, you can deliver to your customers fast. Now, this is one piece of it where you have to reach your customers, but then other than that, of course, all these newer models of delivery like the 30 minutes, the 10 minutes delivery models, the 2 hours delivery models within metros, all of that is feasible only if your tech is strong to ensure that your pickup from the first mile, for example, we offer essentially the same day delivery. If any order that comes by 2 p.m. on Flipkart platform, we are able to deliver by 8 p.m. or 9 p.m. Okay, we offer that to our customers. Now, your tech has to be strong enough that whatever order is coming, there is, without any delay, within second, it is flowing to our first mile team. They go and pick up from the Flipkart offices, Flipkart warehouses. They come, it flows through tech directly to the last mile facilities. We don't go to the sort centers. And then essentially, how do you ensure that your last mile facilities, the delivery boys, they know their addresses, where to go in the shortest way possible. Okay, so you have to route them better. You have to sequence their shipments better. If you do that, you can actually do both, speed as well as efficiency. So those were some of the examples that I want to give.
Thanks, Deepak. So coming back to you, Kamlesh, so how do you balance speed, cost, and customer satisfaction when it comes to last mile deliveries? Because like customer being the most important variable in the entire equation. So what are your priorities to ensure optimal customer experience?
Yeah, so I'll just start with, correcting one thing which, you asked Deepak. You asked cost versus speed. I would say it's no more cost versus speed. It's cost and speed now, right? Because things have changed. Speed, if you want speed and convenience for your customer, right? And cost for your balance sheet and your, good bottom line. So I think both are important now, right? And as I said, there are very less play left now, at least in this e-commerce sector, where you can. If you go off in cost, then that's also a problem, because profitability is the game, at least for startups. Now, every startup we talk to is chasing for profitability, right? At the same time, customer acquisition and keeping them because the competition is also catching up. And it's not that competition is happening within, within the sector that Instamart versus Zepto, right? Both these guys came and now at least as claimed killing Kirana, right? Who was not even thinking that these guys will come and something like that will happen. Even e-commerce guys were thinking that they are a threat to us, but today they are probably bigger threat, let's say, if that's right, to Kirana, right? So, see, I'll just give a quick example of that first, probably a use case, and then if I talk about, I think it will make a little simpler. The Kirana owners, right? All of us would have experienced Kirana. These guys used to get their supplies in every 7 days from distributors like P&G and HUL. Distributors will come in, somebody will come in 3 days, 7 days, 15 days also, right? And these guys used to wonder, it's not like too long, it's probably last year or last to last year, till last to last year, right? When you talk to these guys, they're not even sure, will they come tomorrow, will they come day after tomorrow, or like Thursday is the day P&G guy is going to come. If he did not turn up on that day, this guy is clueless when he will come next. Now this person expect us to say, like, our commitment is that you order today, we will deliver you tomorrow. And then now what he's talking is, that 12-hour window is too much for me to wait. Tell me 2-hour slot at which I will be available at my, right? This is the shift. Like a guy who is waiting for 7 days is now asking for like a 2-hour slot, and we have to build for it, and we have built it already, right? Like we are giving now 2-hour slot predictability to all our Kirana customers for delivery, right? So that's how it is changing. Now coming back to the cost. So customer side, you have to catch up, right? We also did a pilot of same-day delivery because there are a lot of key selling items like sugar, oil, and stuff, right? Which get sold very fast. And there are Kirana customers who started realizing the value that, what we call in e-commerce out of stock. They also started understanding the value of out of stock, that if a customer comes to my shop and if I'm not able to serve and he goes back empty-handed, right? That's not an experience I want to give it. And I'm okay paying 2 rupees or 5 rupees extra, but give me the same day. So for a couple of SKUs, we have started even in a B2B segment, same day delivery now we are talking about. And it's not same day, it's like 2 to 3 hours. You order now and in the next 3 hours we'll give you. So that's where from the customer side, the speed side we are moving to. Coming to the cost side, how do we achieve this? Because cost is also, and specifically when we are talking about grocery, and that too in B2B, it's a very thin margin game. We all know, even for B2C, it's a thin margin game. For B2B, it's definitely a thin margin game, right? So what we started looking is, what can we do about it? A, as he talked about, better network, because network plays a bigger role in deciding how your cost is going to be. So that is where we are investing heavily. Better routing, like AI and all that has started coming into the picture, and we started developing and started working heavily on getting better routes so that you are quicker and probably your productivity is higher. That is second area. Third, I think companies are spending heavily on customer communication, because that has also become a key. That customers are saying that, boss, if you're not able to deliver it, at least inform me that I'm not coming. Don't keep me waiting and wondering, will you come or will you not come? Because that's a really, really bad experience we have seen from the customers. So how can we keep them, informed about every progress what we are making? I think that is third area where, we are trying to compensate for. And see, the last one is more from, and when we are talking about cost, right? To these customers, we started helping them also understand this cost and margin profiles, because we have to help customers understand, because he also has to sell and make money, right? So we are telling them that, boss, if sugar is a thin margin thing, don't ask for like too fast, because if you ask for it, I'm going to charge for the efforts, right? Because if I'm spending money, someday I'm going to charge you. Maybe not today, but tomorrow I'll definitely charge. And in that case, you will not be able to make money. So for which category, which category or subcategory, you should look for, let's say, same day thing, because it is important for you. You have a good margin play, you can make money, versus categories where it is not. So customer education, I would say rather, is become very, very critical aspect for us because we are into a very thin margin game, right? And it's not that we have to make the business successful. We can do things what we can do, but at the same time, we have to invest heavily in making sure that the customer also understand. And that's how we are balancing.
Absolutely, absolutely, Kamlesh. So
I just want to add one point in connection
yes,
to this.
sir.
Since he's mentioned, the speed requirement is not only for the online channels now, more and more B2B also started demanding. In fact, practically now that we are envisaging and we are into trial of something. See, currently the practice is what happens is for all our private labels, right? Generally the manufacturer produces that, then we brings it in bulk and keep it in warehouse, and then we start moving it to our stores as and when it is required. So people knows, generally in store what happens is there is an assortment set. So there will always be a first push, and then there are subsequent replenishments. Now the thought process is, in fact, what we are piloting for the last 3-4 months is, why the first push should come to the warehouse? Why can't it go from the vendor to all the pan-India 2,000 plus stores directly? Because what happens is, in the first push quantity, I am bringing it to my warehouse. So there I am spending 5-6 days. Then in the warehouse, in processing, another 2 days. And then again in the secondary movement, another 3 days. So rather, that does not make sense. So the pilot, what we are trying with Reliance internally is, why can't we move the products from the vendor to the stores directly for the first level of assortment push, and then only the replenishment will happen from the warehouse. So that is the paradigm shift which is happening. So speed is not touched upon only the e-commerce sectors. It's more now thing to B2B businesses as well.
Absolutely. So coming to you, Deepak. So now we've spoken about last mile, and another most important aspect, which again is evolving, is reverse logistics. So in terms of reverse logistics, which has been a growing challenge as returns increase, what is your approach in managing returns effectively while minimizing costs? Are there specific strategies or technologies that help to streamline this process?
I think that's a wonderful question, given that reverse is an integrated portion of the e-commerce industry. So most of the platforms, several customers have different ratios, but let us say at a industry level, I think we are seeing almost like 10 to 15% of returns across. Now, while handling the challenges of the reverse industry, we need to understand what are the problem statements while designing the reverse, right? So what are the problem statements? And one of the biggest problem statements of reverse, at least in India, is that a lot of fraud also happens in the reverse, right? So a lot of customers, now obviously customer is the king. We want to serve to the best way possible, but there is a small segment of the customers within India which is also doing a lot of fraud in terms of using the product and returning, or swapping the product before returning, or different types of a tone product returned, etc., right? So, and that is usually the biggest cost for the companies apart from the lost revenue. So lost revenue is just one piece of it. The other cost is actually this, that you don't get back what you sent out, okay? And that is where I think we were the first ones to come with this quality check, as and when a delivery boy or a pickup boy goes to the doorstep of the customer, how do you ensure that you are also doing a quality check at the point of pickup? You are ensuring that what was given to the customer is also coming back, okay? And how do you ensure that you build your technology as well as the systems and the processes so well that even the delivery or the pickup boy cannot do a fraud, okay? So I think that's the biggest challenge usually in reverse journey. Other than that, essentially, reverse is a cost-heavy leg, right? So usually it takes, now if you build the quality checks and all, you have to process your reverse possibly in a little different way to ensure that no further frauds happen within your supply chain as well. So it's a little cost-heavy leg. So then essentially also the other challenge of the reverse journey is how do you manage the cost piece of it? How do you ensure that you are using the same set of resources, whether it is the delivery boys, whether it is the sort centers, whether it is the truck which is for returning or giving the forward delivery to the customer is also, or let us say to a last mile station is also getting the product back, right? So how do you cross-utilize your resources essentially helps you to minimize the cost burn that you will have on the reverse. The other thing is also a little bit on the new innovations, right? So a lot of platforms now essentially to save on the lost revenue. So we talked about the cost right now, but reverse is also a lost revenue for the company. So question is, how do you ensure a lot of that lost revenue is minimized? So a lot of platforms are now offering an exchange service. So when you ordered a 9-number shoe size, but you tried it and you all of a sudden realized that I probably need 8-number. So how do you ensure that instead of returning it, you're offering to the customer that, okay, I'll give you an 8-number in return for the 9-number. So, and that technology is not easy to build. So that is where I think you have to build your systems and processes, and again, technology well, to ensure that you offer those type of services to ensure that your customers or your clients are not losing on revenue. So those are some of the challenges that we have been able to solve, and hence, essentially, right now we are the market leaders on reverse, but I'm sure that this industry still has a lot many challenges to solve that we can take up. I think from your experience, you can add more.
Kamlesh, in terms of the B2B grocery segment, what is your percentage? I mean, is it industry average or it goes beyond?
For the return you are talking about?
For reverse logistics.
See, for us, actually, it is industry average, but what happens is it becomes easier for us. See, the reason why returns happen in our case, I'll just tell you quickly, right? Because we deal with a lot of staples, and it is very, very seasonal in nature. From different sources, the quality will be different, and the quality perception is very, very different. And our returns are mostly around that. But that is not a very high cost for us. The reason is because ours is a certain set of customers in a city, and we keep going to them. Right? So most of the time, how we plan is when there is a forward delivery plan, at that time we do the reverse logistics. So the cost-wise, it is not a big deal. That's how we are managed. Because as I said, the margin is so less that if I start doing reverse, then there's nothing left out, right? So that's how we manage.
Correct. Yes,
For
Kalyan.
fashion, that's a painful activity. Because as you said, for grocery, what happens is the distribution is within the fixed set of kilometer range. But for fashion, it's travel pan-India. And as you said, all types of frauds will happen. Customer will get we will send a Adidas or Nike shoe. In return, we will get a 100 rupees a shoe. Only when you open the pack, we'll come to know all these things. And there we incur a huge loss. So that's the reason, like you said, these are certain, the new paradigm things we've said. At the time of picking at the customer doorstep itself, we do the inspection for those type of items, and we bring it. And after that also post at the warehouse. So after we receive the returns, it goes for a complete set of inspection before we pay the returns to the customers.
Absolutely.
And it is to the tune of 33%, huh?
Absolutely. So I'll wrap this up.